On June 19th of 2024, I was diagnosed with EHE, and it was after a long few months of not knowing what was going on. And so I guess I'll backtrack and tell you the story of when it all started. So in 2021, I was having like symptoms of a kidney infection, and I had had a kidney infection the year before, and it was really bad. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get to urgent care to get it checked out. Well, when I got there, they did a CT scan with contrast, and they said, oh no, it's not an infection. You're just passing a kidney stone. But to note, you have this 1 millimeter by 1.5 millimeter spot, lesion, whatever you want to call it, on your liver. You should probably get that checked out. And I was like, yeah, sure. And at the time, I didn't have a primary care physician. I am a mom. I'm a teacher, and so I was like, I'm fine now. You gave me my antibiotic. Moving on. So I didn't do anything about it for 3 years, and finally got in to see a primary care physician in March of 2024, and just mentioned it to her. She was fabulous. She was wonderful. We went through all the things. I'd been feeling fine. Nothing was bothering me. I was like, but I mentioned, hey, could we check this out just to, rule it out? And so she's like, yeah, sure. So she scheduled me for an ultrasound in March. And so I did that the following week, and it came back immediately showing. And you could see I was laying on the table. So, getting that whole side of your body checked. And you could see the tech just kind of like, looking at the screen. I was like, okay, I'm not going to start worrying, but I'm kind of worrying. And so those results came back, and that little 1.5 by 1 millimeter spot had grown to 5 centimeters by 6 centimeters. And it looked abnormal. So it wasn't a cyst. It was like a firm mass. And so then that led to an MRI, which then led to a PET scan, and then led to a liver biopsy. And so the PET scan showed, it's the full body scan, showed another little spot on my chest wall right here, just tiny. But they didn't biopsy that at the time. So then the liver biopsy came back, and that was a very, very difficult experience because you're awake for it. And it was scary, not knowing what was going on, but I made it through. Took forever to get the biopsy results back, which was my first indication that it probably wasn't going to be news that I wanted to hear. And all along, I just had the feeling that something wasn't right. I have all these people telling me they have no idea what's going on, what it is. It doesn't look right, but they have no answers for me, which I think is the biggest struggle of this particular cancer is people don't know about it, and it's hard to diagnose. So when my results came back, it was they posted to my chart without my doctor knowing, and it was at like 9:30 at night on a Wednesday. So it came back as all the medical jargon that I had no idea what that meant. So I immediately started Googling, and then I have my son's uncle is a GI doctor, so I sent the results to him. I was like, please tell me what this is, and he was like, I don't know what it is. And so he did some research. My doctor ended up calling me. I had seen a liver specialist, and she was the one that then suggested, this is outside my wheelhouse. I want you to get into someone who knows what they're doing. So then liver biopsy comes back. That's like a huge, you're just kind of in this I don't know, days. Cancer does not run in my family. We have all the other things. Cancer is not one of them. And so my mom, who is a longtime ICU nurse, was like, I don't even know what to say. Like, we just have to do everything we can. And so that's when I started making all the appointments, and eventually got in to see Dr. Van Tine in Siteman. And he met with me for the first time, was wonderful, supportive. I think I'll get into more of what he said, but he's really been a huge reason why I have handled this as well as I have, I think, at this point. And he immediately ordered the biopsy on the spot on my chest wall. He said he would be surprised if it was EHE. because typically it starts in your chest and moves to your liver. Liver's the last space, but he's like, I can't move forward until I find out. So I had a bronchoscopy, and they went down and they biopsied the chest wall, and that came back. Yes, it is EHE. So I am in the category of stage 4, which means it's metastatic. Initially, at first, I had met with a transplant specialist because the mass on my liver covers both sections. And so resection was not going to be an option. And this is all like in the stages of where you just don't know what on earth is going on. And that's in this phase of where your brain is telling you, no, you need to do something immediately. Like, you have cancer, you got to get out of your body. And you don't know enough to like handle it as well as I feel like I am now. It's like, okay, we're going to get you rolling to get you on a transplant list. Like, we're going to get it out. And so in my mind, when I let my community know, like my close family and friends all knew, but I'm a teacher. I teach 3rd grade in St. Louis here, and I know everyone, and it's just such a big part of my life that little eeks and rumors were getting out. And when you hear liver cancer, people immediately start making assumptions of things that aren't necessarily what they are. And so I kind of put my story out there, sharing with the community and all of the people in my life. And at that point, I said, I'm going to need a liver transplant. And so for about a month, that's where we thought we were headed. And that was really hard because I did a lot of research into what exactly that means. At that point, I had joined the EHE Facebook group, which literally is a saving grace, seeing all of the different people's stories. And it's really helped me cope. It's also, freaked me out a little bit too, to see all the different sides of it. But more so, it's been helpful. And yeah, then once my bronchoscopy biopsy results came back, it completely changed, and I was no longer eligible for a liver transplant, which was kind of relieving, but also devastating in the fact that I have metastatic cancer. And so, yeah, that's kind of where the story stopped initially. So my liver function is perfect. Like, I think what is really hard for me to accept is I feel great. I feel fine. Like, I'm healthy. I exercise every day. I eat well. Like, I feel fine. And thinking of having this major surgery that's going to make me not feel fine and then affect my life moving forward, because then you have to be on immunosuppressants for the rest of your life. So when speaking with Dr. Van Tine, we decided that it's probably, we want to avoid it if possible, because my liver function is fine. And so that's why we decided. It wasn't insurance related or anything at this point. Now, the second that my liver stops functioning, he's going to move forward with pushing for them. So because it presents so differently in every person, you really have to take on this mindset of, and me being a teacher, type A, like, very much need this, then this, then this person, it has been very hard for me to accept that we're just watching and waiting at this point. Like, we're not going to immediately act and do anything. And seeing other people's stories, so sharing my story, hearing other people's stories, that's really what's gotten me through it, to see, oh, I don't have to immediately act. I can be okay in this moment and live my life and be happy and find joy and do all those things, without acting immediately and receiving a treatment. And that's what not everyone that I share my story with understands. So I'm going on this path of being diagnosed, and then it veers this way. You're going to get a liver transplant. Like, we're getting you on the transplant list. And then it veers another direction. And then you never know what your next scan is going to show. And so in August is when we determined I I'm stage 4, whatever that means. So I have it in my chest wall and I have it in my liver, nowhere else at this point. And so at that point, Dr. Van Tine said, we're just going to watch and wait. And he's like, you're going to have to be okay with that. And my mom was sitting in the room with me and he's like, you're going to have to be okay with that too. And I was already at the point where I was like, I had read everyone's stories on that page. And I was like, okay, I see a lot of people are doing this. And I see that a number of people who have gone through with a liver transplant then get it a second time. So, or a third time even. I think I've read a couple stories about that. So that's not an ultimate fix. It's not going to fix me, you know, if you will. And so I was like, okay, I'm all right with watch and wait. I can do this. And actually, that might have been at the end of July. Then August, I had a follow-up scan, which showed no growth anywhere. And in fact, Dr. Van Tine didn't even come in. He sent in one of his assistants. I think that he probably assigns them the happy news. And she walked in, and I was like, oh, I hope this means good things. Like, and she's like, well, I've got good news for you. And my mom and I both were like, what? Like, how? Because at that time I was feeling, I haven't felt pain, but every once in a while I will get a shooting sharp pain, lasts for like a millisecond in my liver, right where I know that mass is. And, you know, you see things and it's like, it's just your brain like playing tricks on you. But I really truly feel like every once in a while, there's pain there. And so I was like, it's got to be growing. It has to be. Like, there's no way I would be feeling this pain if it wasn't doing something. And it wasn't. And so I've been watching and waiting. And after that scan, I just kind of took a deep breath. And that's where I've been in this exhale stage of it. And then my next scan will be in about 12 days on the 13th of November. I'm just trying to tell myself, like, it's, I think, a relief of this. I don't know, you have to find silver linings, right? Like, you have to find places where you can celebrate. And a celebration of this cancer is it's not aggressive. So even if in 3 months my scan shows growth, well, what does that growth look like? Is it, you know, micromillimeters? Is it a millimeter? Is it, so even if it does show growth, it's not necessarily doesn't mean treatment. It might just mean, okay, you're going to come back in a month for another scan and things like that. So right now it's every 3 months. I think it will depend what the November 13th results show, to see where we move forward from there. But again, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling better than I was before my last scan. So I just have to hope that we're good. And I'm so glad I joined the EHE group because and the website, like, the best advice I got early on was go see someone that knows what this is. Do not go to any oncologist. You have to find someone that knows what they're doing to receive the treatment that's going to be best for you. And I think that the more the word gets out for that too, because I've read stories of people getting the wrong type of treatment. And something that my oncologist has said to me time and time again, I only get to treat you for the first time once. I want your body in its prime position that when the time comes that I have to treat you, you don't have all of these other things in your system. So we're going to wait and we're going to push it and we're going to treat you for the first time that you need it. And I really so appreciate that because why damage my body with something if I don't need it at this time? So the reaction, there's just so much unknown at first. If this hasn't affected your life in any particular way before, which if you look at the odds, it hasn't because it is so rare. No one I've talked to besides my doctors, the specialists, have heard of it. Even people in the field of taking care of a liver, my liver doctor had never heard of it. And so the reaction has been for me, and I'm so grateful and thankful and just I can't even use words to describe the support that I've been given, has been, what can we do to help you? It hasn't been anything less than that. I feel like the treatment part, yes, people don't understand, but it's not the focus. It's what can we do? What can we do for this community of EHE patients to help? Which is why I'm so excited to talk to you and to get my story out, because I am just so blessed to be in a community that wants to help. Another really amazing thing that came out of my community. So I teach third grade, and I have been teaching for 13 years, and I am blessed to teach in a community that just they they love their people. And so I had two former students. One is I had her sister, she's in fifth grade now, and I have her sibling this year. They created, and I have one right here, these bracelets. They're yellow because that's my favorite color, and it also happens to be like a prominent color of EHE, which is and so on it says strong like Lindsey. And they I don't know if you can see it, but they created these bracelets, and the girls and their family, a couple of their families created this lemonade stand, and they set it up outside my school, and they sold these bracelets, and they raised money, and I have donations just sitting and collected, and it it's just such an amazing feeling. I walk around school every day, and so many kids and staff members and my family obviously like wear these yellow bracelets, and as silly as it sounds, like I wear mine every day too, but as silly as it sounds, this brings me hope. Like every single day, I see this on an 8-year-old's wrist, and I'm like, okay, I've got this. Like I can do hard things. Like this is hard, but I can do it. Like I can do hard things. And so that's the support that I've received, which is more than I could ever ask for. So my diagnosis came over the summer, which is, when you're off and you're not seeing kids and you're not seeing families in your community. And when I came back to school, the amount of looks that I got this August were like, wait, you look great. Like, are you are you feeling okay? I'm like, yeah, I feel great. And so that was like, you can have this horrible disease, this cancer, and you can feel great. You can look great. You can look like nothing is wrong with you. And so when you get on that elevator to go up to the 7th floor to see your oncologist, and that 7th floor is also the floor that kids and adults and people from all ages of life are receiving chemotherapy and treatment, and they look just so ill and barely hanging on, and you get up there and you look and you feel the way you do, it just feels like you're an imposter. Like, why am I the lucky one? Why do I feel okay? And I don't have to do what these people are going through. Like, why? It just feels, you feel guilt almost for feeling okay. Like, why me? Like, why me in the sense that, yeah, this stinks. Like, but why do I get to feel okay? And another piece of advice that I've gotten along the way is don't say why me. Like, say why not me? What can you do with this to change the world? What can you do with this to help others? And that's my personality to begin with, but I just really like the advice of why not me? What can we do to make this better for anyone that has to go through it? People that can make the change, that are feeling good, that are feeling their best, living with this cancer to make things better for everyone, for those that are feeling sick, and for those that continue to be diagnosed in the future.